Good morning. I'm doing my morning coffee and trying to figure out my lighting. The lighting is horrible in here. They have the apartments nowadays have those new energy efficient light bulbs, and I have a hard time to even read with those things. They're very, it gives off, it's a fluorescent type of glow that it gives off. It's not like a light where you can actually read, and apparently it's cheaper on the hydro. So that's what I'm dealing with today, is having a hell of a time with my eyesight in this lighting. I'm also finding that the air is very closed in the apartment, so I'm keeping the windows open. Now at nighttime it's starting to get colder, and so keep cracking the window open a little bit helps, but it also freezes you out. So I'm having to deal with those changes in the weather and things like that, so it's getting a little frustrating. I do have my Christmas decorations up. I have both trees up. And I was watching a show the other day where it said that the birth of Jesus Christ was not really on December 25th. It was the Roman Empire, I think, or something like that, who actually, what would you say, made that day, December 25th, as Jesus' birthday, when he was born in the manger. And the truth is, it wasn't his birthday. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe that's why I get this craving to put up all my ornaments in November, and I'm sure many of you do. But I want to check into that because it was really interesting to find out. So today when I go to the library to upload or download or whatever you call that, these videos to my YouTube channel, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to check it because I find it very interesting that, it's almost like everyone gets in the mood for Christmas in November, not December, in November. And, there's a few things that just don't sit right? So, and the guy, I don't know if it's a TV program or if it was a YouTube channel, and they were talking about why they believe that the 25th is not the birthday of Jesus Christ. And, something to do with the shepherds and I don't know, just the whole thing, it kind of made sense to me. And so I'm going to check it. I'm going to check it out. Like, is December 25th actually the birthday or the birth of Jesus Christ? So I'm actually going to check it out because something just doesn't ring true, right? And I did a research project when I was taking my program in university, and it was about it was actually about the Bible. It was about the Bible, and it was about religious teachings that were enforced back in the day, in those days, right? And also about the poorhouses and the people that were allowed to live and work in the poorhouses. And there's always been this hierarchy in society, and you see it now. You see it now as plain as the nose on your face. You see it now where there is still this hierarchy. Okay, there is certain classes of people that do not associate with other classes of people. I mean, look at our politicians, right? They have certain places that they go, and they don't frequent where the common man frequents. So when you see someone, I think it's Keanu Reeves, you see someone like that, and I'm Canadian, I'm speaking about someone, I think he's American. Anyway, Keanu Reeves will actually use the bus. He will use the transit in the town or the city or wherever it is that he lives. He uses it. He will actually stop and talk to the local people, the local residents. He will utilize their services. He will go to the shops. He will, buy a coffee at the small little coffee shop down the road, and he will talk to people, right? And there's certain hierarchies in other places that, it's frowned upon to talk to people of lowly stature or economic stature. So I was thinking about that today. I was thinking about, Christmas is coming, and there's a lot of people that I know who are seniors like myself who will be spending it alone. Well, possibly due to not having close family connections, or possibly maybe their children have all gone. maybe their friends and their family members have all crossed over. So there's a lot of that around Christmas time. And, I try to. And I'm not always good at this because I've been accosted a few times by people who were of, a different bracket than myself, who had, certain mental faculties that weren't there. And so I've been attacked by people like that. And so, there's an element of fear, but there's also an element of caring where you see. The other day I seen a man, like my son's age. I have a son, and his age, and he was obviously hungry. He was obviously cold. He was wet. He wasn't wearing pants that would fit him, and so they were hanging down on him. And he didn't have a belt. He was sitting on a curb. He wasn't bothering anybody. He wasn't, putting a sign up for money. Nothing like that. He was just sitting there. It's almost like he had given up on life. And at this time in our lives, at this time, a time of giving and caring around Christmas time, it's hard to see that. So if someone has a little jar out, does it hurt you to drop a quarter in, a dime in? Is it really going to take that out of your lifestyle? Is it, but it might show that person that there are people out there that still care. Now, I don't choose to give money, and I'm going to tell you why. There was a period in my life where I was homeless. So I know what it's like to be on the other side of that fence. And I know what it's like to be cold and to be hungry and to be tired and not have a place to rest your head. And I had a support system. So I had a person in my life who was very, who was the person who should have been supportive of me. And I was an older woman. I mean, I was in my 40s, and I was working, and I had a car. Yeah. And I was working at a distance from where my children were. And so I was kind of stuck. I was stuck. I had no place to sleep, but I had to work. I had to get a job. So I had a job in a city that was far away, okay? And I only had enough gas to get where I was going, to get to this individual who I assumed would help me, that I expected that they would help me. Because if my children were in that circumstance, I would help them. Yeah, I'm their mom. Yeah, I'm their mom. So if anyone should help them, it would be me, right? Well, this individual didn't choose to do that. And I kind of said that payday is the next day, is tomorrow. And so could I crash on your couch or even use one of the spare bedrooms, of which there were 4, I think. There's 4 bedrooms. So I asked if I could use one of those bedrooms just to sleep in for the night so that I could tomorrow wake up refreshed and not tired and get my paycheck and be on my way. And that's all I asked for. I didn't even ask for food. Nothing. Not even coffee. Just a place to put my head. Well, this individual had 2 persons there. And, I use the term loosely, relatives, okay? Very, very loosely. And these 2 people stood by the door, and they looked at me in my state of disarray and my state of frustration, and I was scared. I didn't have enough gas to make it to the city, so I thought, well, where will I even park my car to sleep on it? You know what I'm saying? I didn't even have a place in that area to go to, because I wasn't really part of that clan, and never have been. And so these 2 individuals, I will never forget this. They looked me directly in the eye, the both of them, all 3 of them. Were standing at the stove watching this individual cook, and all 3 of them looked at me. And by the way, they were much younger than myself, so they don't know the dynamic in that group scenario. They don't know, okay? They're just going on what they heard from one particular person. Anyhow, so they all looked at me, and they gave me this kind of smirk, you gotta go, And I did. I went, but I had just enough gas. I coasted into the driveway of a friend who possibly, and wasn't even positive that they were home or that they were able to help me, but I literally coasted into their driveway, and the car died. Yeah. The next day I had to get a gas can, and I had to get some gas because the day after was payday. So the next day I had to get a jerry can and fill up my car with gas in order to go to the next client. So it took a little bit of time, and I lost a client in the morning because I wasn't able to do that quick enough. So this is what I'm saying is, even nowadays, even with the support system and the network that we have nowadays, and even in your family scenarios, okay? Like, it makes you wonder how these people, how they can sleep at night, how their conscience can be clear when they know that they put someone at risk and they didn't care. And this was wintertime. It was wintertime. So I will never forget that. I will never forget that until I'm like 100, if I live to be that old, okay? So, I can understand the fact that my cancers came on suddenly because I dealt with a lot of stress, and stress causes disease. And I had 2 strokes. I had a heart attack. I've had one heck of a history of health problems, okay? And I know it's all brought on by stress and not being able to take care of myself in the way that I should have been. I wasn't able to eat the proper foods because I had no place to cook them. I had no family support system. I didn't have, a family member I could call up and say, hey, listen, I'm kind of struggling here right now. Could I stop by and maybe make a sandwich? I didn't have that. I wasn't allowed that luxury. And it was a luxury. Trust me, it was a luxury. So when I see people on the street, and I see, a young lad, like I said, that looked like my son, or didn't look like him, but was the same age bracket. And I think somewhere along the line, that individual was roped into something perhaps that they weren't ready for. And I'm talking about chemicals or drugs or alcohol or even pot. Get off of this pot kick, okay? We smoked it back in the 70s. I mean, it's not a big deal, okay? But if you smoke it the way that they smoke it nowadays, like a cigarette, just one right after the other, okay, yeah, it becomes a problem. Anything that gives a smoke, whether it's pot or cigarettes or whatever, a vape, okay, anything that gives a fume or a smoke is a carcinogen. And I don't care who you are, big wig, little wig, or economic bracket right through the floor. I don't care. That is the truth, and you bloody well know it is. And these cigarette companies, they vied us in. Back in the 60s and 70s, they had these advertisements that made it look amazing to have a cigarette, to, you look professional and you looked adult and everybody would treat you better and the men would like you and the women would like you and you'd be just like, and who didn't want that? So we got sucked in. We got roped in. And I was one of them. I smoked for 47 years, okay? I do not anymore. Since I had my last stroke, I said, you know what? I'm done. And I had a stroke that night from the stress of not having a cigarette. But what I'm saying is, I kind of veer off course, but when you see that person who you think is lowlier than you, okay, does it hurt? Seriously, if you don't want to give money, which I don't give money, and I'll tell you why, but I give other things. I will, if I'm at the dollar store and there's someone outside with a little tin can, especially during the holidays, okay, especially. And they have a little tin can and they're asking for money and they're saying homeless. Like, some of them lie, yeah, but the good Lord will take that up with them later. But if I have the extra change, I'll drop it in. If I don't have change, I will go into the dollar store. I will get something. I mean, they have food in there that will suffice, that will keep you alive, okay? And so I'll go in and I'll buy something. And many times I've bought a bag of food and given it to an individual that was sitting outside the dollar store. And I encourage every single solitary one of you to do that. If all of us give a shit, if all of us cared about our neighbors and our loved ones, okay, if we actually cared, this world wouldn't be as messed up as it is. And it is. It's messed up pretty good. And, kids that don't have a support system, kids that aren't getting that love and that caring and that nurturing at home, okay? They reach out to other people. They need it. It's essential to them. And that's why you get these kids that join these gangs or get into these gangs, because they're looking for that connection to someone else, that feeling of belonging. I did for years and years and years. I looked for that sense of belonging with the wrong groups, because those groups were willing to take me in and willing to say, okay, you're one of us now, right? And so I joined those groups. I was in those groups. I had a few times when, my life was put at risk because of my choices. Nobody else's, my choices, okay? But there were reasons behind those choices. There were reasons. I didn't have a supportive network. There hasn't been, and you can say what you will of my channel. It doesn't matter to me. This is my healing journey, and it's both psychological, it's emotional, it's physical, okay? It's a healing journey. And you have to understand where you came from to know where you're going. And I didn't have a supportive network. I didn't have a father figure in my life. I still don't. I still don't have a father figure in my life, and I still don't know where that connection is and who that connection should be to, okay? So that's an issue that takes place nowadays, and it took place in the past. I didn't have a close bond to holidays, okay? Holidays were spent by myself from... I got divorced in 24. I was 24, okay? So from 24 till now, I have spent almost every single solitary holiday without a network around me. Now, I've had my children, and many times when they weren't working because they worked, or they went to school, or they traveled. I mean, it's their life. So a lot of those times I spent Christmas by myself, and I'll tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy. But I have a little method, and I'm not a drinker, but I go out and I get myself those little mudslide bottles from the liquor store, and I will get my Christmas music out. I don't have internet. I usually watch Christmas movies on TV, but I don't have internet anymore, so that's going to be a history. But I'll get myself a mudslide, and I'll put on the Christmas music, and I will sit and look at my tree, okay? That's what I do. One night, I do that one night. And I only drink like one mudslide. So, it's not a big issue, but that is my routine. This year, I do have a companion. I have my cat. I have my Tabby. And so... these are the things that I do to feel like I'm part of something, part of this Christmas celebration, okay? I have lots to be thankful for. I could have been dead years ago from the things I was ingesting. I was drinking heavy. I was smoking cigarettes like crazy. And don't worry, I did my share of pot too. So, I have a history of that. I've been in car accidents. I've been in situations where I was taken advantage of. I've had situations where I have experienced abuse, and I mean physical abuse, and very horrendous physical abuse. So I've been there. So I am thankful to be alive this Christmas. I am thankful that I have survived my strokes, my heart attack, my cancers, okay? I've got one person to thank for that, and that's the big guy up above. So I do want to celebrate his birthday. But I have a tendency to kind of put the trees up in November and leave them up until January. January. And that's no word of a lie. So what I'm saying to you is that this Christmas season, I would hope that each one of you will follow my example. And if you see a homeless person, okay, whether it's someone who has an addiction or whether it's someone who's just homeless, there are many families who become homeless because of economic circumstances. You don't know what takes place behind their door. You don't know what takes place in their life and how and why they end up homeless. So be more compassionate. Okay, I'm going to tell you one more story, and it's going to be a final story, and it's going to tell you it's going to show you the difference between evil and good. Okay, and it's going to show you how when you decide to hurt somebody out of a vendetta or out of an ego thing, how it can affect them. Okay, so I had a job. And I was a young woman. I was raising my kids on my own, and I was having a hard time with the rent. And I wasn't making a lot of money. I was making maybe $10, $11 an hour, and I raised my kids on that. Anyhow, there was a particular individual who didn't like me, and I was a very happy-go-lucky person. So when I walk into the office, I would say, good morning, sunshine, how are you doing? To the receptionist, okay? Now, it was a very relaxed atmosphere that I lived in, or worked in. Very relaxed. Everybody knew each other by their first name, and we were all like country people. Everybody, that's just how you talked, right? How you doing? That's how you talk. So I remember this one particular time, someone in a position of authority took offense to that. That was not a terminology that someone in their office would use. And so I was kind of yanked in behind, and I was said, you don't use that terminology here, and here's why. Because someone called me that when I was a young person, and so that is inappropriate, and I refused. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. Now, that's not my problem. That was something that had affected this individual when they were a child. They didn't like being called that, okay? And so they took offense to me saying it to the receptionist. And they kind of like assumed that it was meant for them, okay? But it wasn't. It was meant for the receptionist. Anyhow, so it didn't end there. It was coming up on Christmas, and that's the reason I'm telling you this story. It was coming up on Christmas. I still want to cry when this happens. Still want to cry. Anyhow, this individual decided to terminate me. I think it was a week before Christmas, something like that, and specifically because they said that I didn't fit the bill, but they didn't even give a reason. They just gave me my walking papers. Anyway, what they decided to do and what they said to me when they came to my door at Christmas time, 1 week before Christmas, they knocked at my door, opened the door, and I was surprised to see a boss, really, right, at my door. You don't normally see that. I mean, that should be illegal, right? And this person handed me my walking papers, handed me my termination, and they said to me, here's something for you. I wanted to make sure that I gave it to you directly to your face, okay? Have a wonderful Christmas. And they turned around and they walked away. I opened up the paper, and it's a paper of termination, yeah. And I had 3 young children. That is evil. And that was horrendous. I never forgot that. After that, I lost so much. I lost my apartment. I lost my self-esteem. I didn't have a job. I had no money. I had a vehicle. Or did I? No, at that point, I didn't have a vehicle. Yeah, I didn't have a vehicle. So basically, I lost everything. And the reason I'm even telling this story is because it's Christmas time, okay? Now, let's say you're a boss and you're watching this. And I don't care what kind of boss, okay? Or let's say you're a parent and you're watching this. And you know that there's someone in your life, a child, a friend, a family member, who's going through a struggle. You don't know what's taking place behind their doors. You don't know why that person is going through that struggle. And you don't have the information that is private to their life, okay? So don't assume shit. Don't assume stuff. Don't assume that that individual put themselves in that circumstance by getting into that relationship or getting into that apartment building or getting into that job or doing whatever they did that would, to you, would make it like they should be fired, right? And I'm talking specifically to the person who walked to my door and handed me my walking papers, okay? You don't know what was taking place behind that door. You don't know the struggles we went through. You don't know the things we did without while we struggled. Mm-hmm. You don't know the emotional circumstances that I came from in my childhood that led me in the direction of that relationship that was abusive, okay? You don't know. Don't assume to know. Mm-hmm. And so when I see someone homeless on the street and they're begging for money, I will get them something to eat. Yeah. And I had a homeless girl tell me one time, it was someone that I knew, and I knew their struggle. I knew their addiction. I knew their struggle. Not personally, but through them talking about it. And I seen them on the street, and they were sitting there with a sign, and they were, well, actually, they didn't have the sign. They didn't have nothing. They were just sitting there. She was just sitting there. And she looked, obviously, like she had not really had a lot of sleep or a lot to eat, and she looked really rough and like could use a bath. And I thought, oh my gosh. And she was a young woman, much younger than me, about 20 years younger than me at that time. And I went up to her and I said, listen, when's the last time you ate so-and-so? Because I knew her name. And she said, oh, I haven't eaten for days. And I said, do you have any money? And she said, no. She said, don't give me money. Don't give me money. She says, because you know what I'll do with that money? I'll take that money and I'll go find someone and I'll buy some drugs. Don't give me money. Please. I'm just telling you. I'm being honest with you. Don't give me money. Give me food. That was my first experience with homeless people. Yeah, my first experience. It was an eye-opener. Yeah, it was an eye-opener. So I did. I went and I got this individual food and I brought it back and they devoured it. And I said my adieus and I said, God bless you. And I said, I hope that your life gets better. I hope that you find the help that you need. And I found out that she did. She found the help that she needed. The good Lord was guiding her. Okay. The good Lord's guiding her. And to this day, I don't know where she is. I don't know what she's doing, but I do still keep her in my thoughts and prayers. And if that's all you can do around this time of giving at Christmas time is to get someone a chocolate bar or a bag of chips, if that's all the money you have, do it. You never know when you are going to be hungry. So, I told you I wouldn't get through this without crying. So, I definitely hope that everyone has a happy holiday going into December, that you find warmth and love and caring in your life, and that you're able to celebrate another day, another month, another year. Namaste, my friends. Bye-bye. I shall see you on the next video. The good Lord be willing.